What's going on, online fitness coaches / YouTube? It's your boy Brian Mark, and I'm on my drive back from Vancouver, and I figured I'm gonna give you guys 3 of my secrets that have helped me become a millionaire before the age of 30. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the episode. Okay, so I've been an online fitness coach since 2014, and growing my business and working on myself and developing myself. And I came from a background where I was like a drug addict, came from a trailer park, like I came from like a lot of adversity, and I managed to make $1 million before I turned 30. And I want to talk about some of the secrets to my success, because I feel like there's a lot of people that want to be successful, but they struggle to like figure out exactly how. So I'm going to talk about 3 things that have worked extremely well for me, why they worked well for me, and how you can apply them to your life. So thing number 1 is investing heavily in mentorship. And when I say heavily, I mean heavily. The first mentor I ever hired cost me $15,000 USD. I had about $25,000 USD in my bank, and 10 of that was for payroll. So that $15,000 mentor literally put me in the hole. And I had 30 days to make back the money, or I was not going to be able to make payroll when I was an online fitness coach and I had people working for me. So I basically had other people's money in my bank account that I ended up spending. Now, the reason I think it's so important to over-invest in mentorship and like heavily over-invest is because I think it's not about the mentor that you hire, it's about the financial commitment that you make to yourself. Because let's be honest, like I have a podcast that has 750 episodes. And if you really listen to the podcast and you actually applied what was in it, you could build a successful online business. But the reason that a lot of people don't build a successful online business is because they're not invested. And so the financial commitment and saying like, I'm gonna go all in and I'm gonna do whatever it takes and I'm gonna put my money where my mouth is, and like as soon as that money leaves my bank account, it's like I need to make it back or negative consequences will happen. And so I think that a lot of people don't make that commitment, because when you invest financially, it's almost like you're serious. And so a lot of people are afraid of investing. But for me, like I over-invest. So my first mentor cost me $15K. My second mentor cost me $2,500 USD a month. And then he has a second level program, and it cost me $4,800 USD a month, which was $6,400 Canadian dollars per month. And then once I was done with Taki, I stayed with Taki for about 2.5 years. I hired Bedros, which was $100,000 USD for the year, which is massive. That's like double the price of Taki. And the reason I keep investing in the next level is because I want to keep myself financially committed to my own goals. And so the first secret that made me a millionaire before I turned 30 was heavily investing in mentorship. And when I say heavily, I do mean heavily. Like you really have got to put yourself all in and do whatever it takes. And any money that you have, you need to invest in yourself.
How much does your program cost?
$400 USD a month, which is absolutely nothing. Like if you think about, we've helped 248 online coaches hit $10,000 a month. And if you even get like a smidge of value and you're even able to sign 1 or 2 clients by paying me $400 USD a month, you're doubling your investment. So if like I teach you how to sign 2 clients a month for $1,000 each, then you're gonna double your investment every month. And then that's gonna stack. So like my program is $400 a month, and yes, you should fucking buy it because it's fucking awesome. So that's number 1. Number 2, the second thing that made me a millionaire before I turned 30 is I call it the slight edge. And so any field that I get into, whether that be online fitness coaching, or now I'm a business coach for online trainers, when I started podcasting, any field that I get into, I figure out what everybody else is doing, and then I do just a little bit more. And so when I became an online fitness coach, I figured out that like people were posting on social media, but nobody was going live. So I started going live 5 times a week. It separated me from the pack, and as a result, I grew my fitness business to $54,000 a month. When I became a business coach for online fitness coaches, I figured out that everybody's program cost about $5 to $10 grand. So I made mine $400 a month, and I did a little bit more in the program. Most people were offering 2 coaching calls. I started offering 5 coaching calls a week, and now it's 10 coaching calls a week. So I figured out what everybody else was doing, and I was able to do just a little bit more. I figured out most people wake up around like 7, 8 a.m. So I wake up at 3:45 in the morning, because I know that over time, that extra 4 hours is gonna stack up, and then throughout the year, I'll have an extra, 500 to 1,000 hours to work on my online coaching business. So I figure out what everybody else is doing, and then I do just a little bit more. And I do that with everything. I do that when it comes to competing. I figure out like what my competitor is doing or who the best coach is that they hired, and then I'll hire the best coach, and then I'll do my coach's program plus a little bit more. And when I'm anything, people recommend you post on Instagram 5 times a week. I post on Instagram 10 times a week. Mentors recommend that you post twice a day on TikTok. I post 4 times a day on TikTok. When people say, when I started my podcast, they're like, a good podcaster goes 1 or 2 times a week. I'm like, I'm going to go 5 times a week. So I figure out what everybody else is doing, and then I do just a little bit more. And that like nominal difference over time is like what makes me massively separated from everybody else. Like I became the king of online business coaching, sorry. Like I'm the #1 business coach for online trainers in a span of 4 years. And the reason I became the king is because I figured out what everybody else was doing, and I did just a little bit more. When I first started my online coaching business when I was mentoring fitness coaches, when I first started that business, like I didn't have a podcast, and there was many other business coaches that had podcasts. So I figured out how many podcast episodes they had, and then I was like, I'm gonna do 5x the amount of episodes that they're doing in a week. I caught the #1 dude in a year, and now I have 5 times the amount of episodes that he has. And so figure out what everybody else is doing and then do just a little bit more. It's gonna give you a slight edge, and over time, a slight edge is gonna lead to a massive difference. So that's number 2. Number 3, the third secret that I believe that made me a millionaire before I turned 30 is starting a podcast. When I first started my podcast, the Change Lives Make Money Online Trainer podcast, I was just a brand new, I was new to business coaching. Like I knew how to grow a fitness business because I did that for myself. I grew mine to $54,000 a month, but I didn't really have a big audience of people that were fitness coaches that wanted to grow an online business. My audience was mostly people that wanted to get more fit because that's what I was for a long time. And so starting a podcast that was high value every single week, giving away 5 actionable things that people could use in their coaching business, that activated what I call the law of reciprocity. People started sharing my podcast out. They started viewing me as more of an authority because I had a podcast. They started tuning into my podcast every single day. Me doing my podcast allows me to go live every single day and have something to talk about, which causes me to be in people's faces more, which when they're whether or not they're ready to take action now. Like I just had a girl buy yesterday. She's like, I've been following you for 2 years, and I've watched you start your business, and I think it's super inspiring, and now I'm ready to buy. So starting my podcast and going live every single day not only made me more of an authority, but it also made me omnipresent so that I'm everywhere at all times. I'm always live, I'm always posting, I'm always on TikTok. Now I'm always in the podcast app. Now anytime that somebody wants to start an online fitness coaching business, they think of me because I'm everywhere. And so I truly do think that when I started my podcast, my business was making about $50,000 a month. And just this last month, we made $545,000, and I talked about that on the YouTube. And I truly do believe that the reason that I was able to make that income is because I committed and I did the podcast, and it was difficult, and I definitely had a lot of scarcity and a lot of fear around doing the podcast. But doing the podcast was the very thing that separated me from everybody else. It caused me to go all in. It caused me to. It just made me different. It made me different. It made me unique. And now I've got over 730 episodes and making $550,000 a month. And I truly do believe that it was the podcast. So these are the 3 things that I believe made me a millionaire before I turned 30. Number 1 is heavily investing in myself. I go all in every single time I feel comfortable. Anytime I'm comfortable in my life, I go all in. So if I realize that I feel like I'm not playing my full potential, I'll invest in another mentor. I'll invest in a course. I'll invest in myself. I'll invest in an event, whatever it is. So I'm heavily invested in myself. Number 2 is I every single day I operate with this idea in mind of having a slight edge. I want to figure out what everybody else is doing, and then I want to do just a little bit more. Even the YouTube. For those of you guys that are following me on YouTube, I do 7 episodes a week, 365 days a year. Nobody's doing that. And so I'm doing just a little bit more than everybody else is. And I have a slight edge on everything that I do. And that's why I believe I'm separating myself from everybody else. And I think that's important. And number 3, starting a podcast. A lot of people are afraid to start podcasts because they're afraid of using their own voice. But I think that starting my podcast is what allowed me to find my voice. And these are the 3 things that I believe made me a millionaire before I turned 30.